If you ever wondered how to make sourdough, this is going to be the entire process. I'm here with my friend Marissa. She's a newbie. She asked me to show her how to make sourdough, and we're going to document it. To get started, what we do is we zero out our scale and weigh in grams. So this is my starter that I just pulled out of the fridge. So in some other methods, one of the things that they do is they will feed their starter the day before. Mm-hmm. So like active by the time that you mix your dough. But in my method, it already is pretty active. So I'm gonna always be looking for bubbles. Mm-hmm. And if there is like a gluten web or not. But I have not seen a big enough difference to feed it the day before to feeding it out of the fridge to make that a have to, like a rule. You definitely can if you want to. About how much? So 100 grams of starter. And it's okay if you have too much in there or not. And I'm gonna just set my starter aside because after we mix the dough, I'm gonna feed it so that it's ready for our next dough day. So we'll zero this out. And then the next thing that we're gonna add is water. And I just use warm water from my tap. But you can use bottled water if you want to. Whatever you have is fine. Oh, whoops. What does that say?
366, 365.
365.
You're supposed to have.
Oh no,
340.
that's so much more water.
Right.
But we're gonna leave it because we don't have to be so precise in this. So what do you think? How do we correct having too much water?
Add more starter. Add more flour.
Add more flour. That's right. So we're just gonna add more flour if we need it.
Right.
Right? So we're gonna zero that out. And then we're gonna add in our salt. Again, eyeballing right into our mix. And then the controversial and optional thing is to add commercial yeast. People say that if you use commercial yeast in your sourdough, it's not real sourdough. But I disagree because what makes sourdough is the long fermentation time. So if I was going to just mix this up, as soon as it proofed, put it in the oven, then it wouldn't be sourdough. But because we're adding a pinch of yeast to help with that initial rise, but then it's gonna go in the fridge for 12 hours, then we have sourdough.
Right.
So there is a little bit of a balance, but this is optional. But I like to use commercial yeast because it is like my insurance policy. So just using a little pinch of yeast, and when I mean a pinch, it literally is a sprinkle on top, like that.
Gotcha.
Like a packet of yeast will probably last 16 times.
So it just helps to like make sure it like is actually like
rising.
Yep. Gotcha.
And so then instead of me wondering, because what can happen in the sourdough process is if I mix up the dough and my kitchen is cold or like it's too wet or too dry or any of that kind of stuff, it could take up to 12 hours to rise.
Oh, so this just helps to make sure that will be rising. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Within a reasonable time frame.
Right. That makes sense.
So that's why I like to use it because it really does simplify the timing of everything. But again, it's optional. And then the next thing I add is flour. If I wanted to add flavor to my dough, this is what I would mix it into a different bowl. So like if I was going to do garlic and rosemary or something, I'd weigh my flour into a separate bowl and then add my garlic and rosemary to the flour, kind of to flour everything. And then everything goes in at once into the bowl. Okay. That's also just optional. So cheese, shredded cheese, anything that you want. But do you remember how much water extra we added?
We had 20 extra
like 20
grams.
Okay. So I'm going to actually try to get this exactly. 455. Okay, that's 458. And so we're gonna just mix this up. Do you want to mix it up?
How?
So you'll just stir it around a couple times.
Like, just like.
Yep.
Okay.
until it starts, and then until it like kind of gets combined,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll kind of start to like fold it around.
Okay.
Yep, you're doing great. And we're combining it so that it's a shaggy dough, which means that it's not smooth or elasticy. It's kind of gonna look like shaggy dog hair.
Okay.
For reference. We don't want pockets of moisture, and we don't want dry flour.
Right.
So based on how this is coming together right now, I see that we have a lot of like glossy spots in there. And so I already know that we put 20 grams more of water in it. So I'm going to just at this point see that I'm going to just add probably like a 1/4 cup more of flour. And so now we can continue mixing it.
Just keep like folding it.
Keep folding it. You can maybe get a little bit more aggressive in that.
Like, okay. Like how?
Yeah, center and then pull around a little bit more.
Okay.
Because if you're just going around the outside,
it's not going to be.
It's not going to be combining throughout. So like I kind of like to do a rotation more. So I'll rotate. Yep, perfect. So I might go this way, and then I might go this way, and then I'll go around. Yep, perfect.
Okay.
And then when our dough looks like that, if you want to show the camera, we have a shaggy dough. We want a dull color. It's pretty dull. There's still some wet spots in there, but it's dry in our environment. So that while it's proofing, some of that moisture will evaporate a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to clean that. Scrape the side of my bowl down, just one bowl. And I just kind of pull this around so that I can see when this will double. Like that. And this will just sit on the counter for 2 to 4 hours, usually 4 hours. It will fluff up. It will dome around it. So it's hard with like a bowl like this because it's curved, so it's hard to see when it doubles, right? So this will get covered and set on the counter. I'm going to take note of the time. It's 11 a.m. That is mixing the dough pretty easy, right? Like only 4 ingredients. All right, so now the tricky part, feeding the starter. It's really only tricky in the beginning when you're like in the learning curve of it. At this point, I'm always pulling out the same amount of starter. And so I'm always feeding it the same amount. So this is my starter Big Mama. My recipe is double what I just shared. So when I pull out my starter, it actually is down here.
Gotcha.
Right? Which is about half of where my rubber band is, right? But that's okay. I'm going to raise my rubber band up a little bit because we always want to feed our starter at least its volume. So if I have this much starter, I need to feed it this much starter. So it's going to go up a little bit more. And we can go. Now, when my starter gets up to this amount, because starters can triple, I kind of want to see if it triples, what could happen here. So this might be too much. This would be a time that I would discard so that I could properly feed this without it overflowing in my jar. And so based on that, what I'm going to do is discard. Now I'm going to scrape the sides down so that I can see how much starter I have. And as you can see, now it's lower, right? Like move this around. I have about a cup, 3/4 of a cup to a cup of starter down there. So I'm going to take note of that. This is my eyeball method. I don't weigh it. Now what I'll do is I'm going to take my water and I'm going to fill it up so that it's halfway between where the top of my starter is and my rubber band. And I'm just going to add the water like that. And because I have about 3/4 of a cup to a cup of starter, I'm going to add, starting with 3/4 cup of flour.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to stir this together. And nothing is exactly measured. I'm looking for a texture.
Mm-hmm.
So I get this together just till it's combined. So again, I don't want any like wet spots and I don't want any dry flour. But I want this to be chunky. It should be glossy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I like put it up, it's like going to fall off.
It's not like
but it's not like running off.
Gotcha.
Yep. And that's a fed starter.
Oh, that's it?
Yep.
Huh.
And so then what I do with this, I scrape down the sides again. Because if there's going to be like bad bacteria, it's most likely to start on the, like up on the lip or on the sides of the jar. I've had this jar for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've never cleaned it. I've never changed it.
Awesome.
So there's like a point that like all the good bacteria that's happening in here, it just like deflects the bad bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's like constantly moving and changing, then it has its like life cycle. And so it's pretty stable in there. So what I do is I check my rubber band. If you can see that it's exactly there, my rubber band's a little high up here, but I'm gonna just adjust it. If it's a little bit off, I'll just move my rubber band down. Like it doesn't have to be fed like exactly the one. But then I cover this with a plastic wrap to keep out like fruit flies or debris.
Yeah.
You know what happens in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
What happens in the kitchen stays in the kitchen. And then this, I don't ever tightly close my jar unless I'm traveling with it. And I only travel with it when I go into my class to share it. So this is not your dough, because that'd be like, but TV magic.
TV magic, this is our dough.
So this dough I mixed up on Tuesday night from my class. And so what happens is the longer that a dough is fermenting in the refrigerator, the more that the gluten is getting eaten at. And so sometimes you can end up with like a pretty high hydration dough to mold with. And that can be pretty tricky. And I do scrape around the side here. And you'll see this is a pretty wet dough. It's pretty flat. It sat in the fridge for a little bit longer than it needed to. Or it fermented longer than it needed to. Mm-hmm. But this particular dough was mixed up in a classroom, rode home, then came back and sat on my counter. So like it wasn't necessarily the best treated.
Right.
But that is okay. So if you can see, what we look for is like the stretch in the dough, really. Wow, that was... Okay, the stretch in the dough. So I'm gonna, I test it by how far can I pull without feeling resistance. And so I'm gonna just like do a couple folds, envelope fold, so 1/3 of the way. I'm gonna pull this also. Now I start to feel resistance, so I'm done there. And I'm gonna do that a couple times. And do you even see like I didn't allow me to pull anymore? Mm-hmm. So this loaf, like although the dough looked like really crazy, there's still some resistance in it. Mm-hmm. If it was super wet and like past repair, it would just break apart or like be like hot silly putty. Like when you start to pull on it, it just like
would that
never
even be
ends.
Usable if it was like that?
That's where you can just throw it on a pan if you want to.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, or whatever. So once I could maybe do this a couple times. And if you want to, you can do what they call the pre-shape. So you're just gonna like fold this a couple times, tighten it up, and then leave it covered on the counter, and then come back to it to do your final shape. But like sometimes that's a step that I also find to be unnecessary. But you can see, do you see these bubbles popping up in here?
Yeah.
That's the fermentation happening. Those are like That is actually a pretty happy dough. So I don't want to take that gas out, so I'm not going to work this dough too much. So I did an envelope fold. I did another one because it's a little bit wet, and then I did a burrito roll, and then I pulled it towards me. And so I'm going to repeat that. And you can use a scraper if you want to, if it's like sticky and hard to handle. And so you can just do that. It's kind of like whatever is natural to you. But because we want a loaf size or like oblong, I'm just gonna roll it in like this till it's like snug. And that is just sticky on that side, but that's okay because it's just gonna go into the liner. And then into the pan. And it will just sit there for up to 2 hours. So like 45 minutes to 2 hours or so. And then it will go into a 450 degree oven and bake. That is basically it.